working with our partners is to ensure that their return is long-term sustainable. That is, we try to provide some reintegration support to help them that they are able to reintegrate back into the Ghanaian society. So that is it for what we did yesterday. Moving on, the issue in Libya. I'm happy it's come to the fore. As you rightly put it, the CNN journalist, undercover journalist, has kind of echoed what IOM over the years have been preaching. We have always had the opinion that we believe that migration is a good thing, but if it's not well managed, those who go through irregular means expose themselves to a lot of risks, a lot of exploitation, a lot of abuse, sometimes even resulting in death. So then, IOM as a mission has always been at the forefront of bringing these things out to the public for them to know of the dangers, as well as what migrants from within the sub-region, the West African sub-region, are exposing themselves to. Since 2005, we have been working closely with, of course, the government of Ghana, including other governments, as I indicated, from the sub-region, to help in the rescue first, and then the protection of their nationals, and also offer some kind of pre-psychosocial counseling support to ensure that we're able to return them, at least in a dignified manner, with the mindset that, look, they are not failures. Of course, as our Honorable Minister rightly put it, there are still opportunities here in Ghana. Ghana is not a failed state. Likewise, we try to highlight all these to other sub-Saharan African countries, for them to know that the grass is not as greener as they are made to believe. And they should also try to take advantage of the opportunities that are in the countries, the various countries of origin. In Libya, we have seen a lot of things that have happened to migrants, undocumented migrants, as we may put it. But the other problem is our brothers and sisters who try to cross the Mediterranean. A lot more people are dying through these routes. They get some, and you see, it's difficult having accurate data or statistics on Ghanaian nationals crossing, because most of them, one would want to do away with their nationalities, because, of course, once they are able to cross, they would seek for asylum. And if you are a Ghanaian, we all know that your chances of being granted asylum in a foreign country is very, very minimal. So then, we are not even aware of the real picture. This is what I'm trying to portray. The problem is that we should work together. There should be a concerted effort between everybody. I mean, between government, between civil society organizations, between non-governmental organizations. Everybody needs to come on board to ensure that we help manage migration. As I've indicated, migration, if well managed, brings a lot of benefit. We've had time and numerous of our students going to learn, acquire new skills, bringing them back to contribute to nation development. We've had people who have gone to get a much more improved healthcare. So when migration is effectively managed, the benefits are enormous. But we should also be conscious and also know of the dangers that are associated with irregular migration. We cannot entirely erase irregular migration, because this is done in a clandestine manner. People go through unapproved or irregular routes. So then, but what we can do is to minimize it, to ensure that, one, we give our nationals accurate and reliable information about what is happening out there. That is why we have partnered with some governmental institutions like the Ghana Immigration Service to set up the Migration Information Center in Sunyani, and then also resource the Migration Information Bureau at the Ghana Immigration Service headquarters to offer a neutral space where prospective migrants can go for accurate and reliable information about the migratory activity they would want to undertake. And also, let me be quick, I see our colleagues from immigration here. They are also proactive. It's not that they only wait for people to visit the center before they give them. They do community sensitization to to sensitize people, especially the youth, on the dangers of such perilous journeys. So the issue happening in Libya is quite dire. That is why it's come to the fore, but we should manage and manage it well.
I want to bring you back to the 127 Ghanaians that were rescued and brought to Ghana between last night and this morning. How dignified is this? How would you describe it? You bring them in, you rescue them, of course. They've gone through 6 months of horror and torture. They get here, they are rescued, yes. They are given 400 Ghana cedis, put in a kufor bus, like we call it, then sent to Circle and left there to find their own way around. Is that dignified enough? Is that dignified?
All right, thank you. You see, these returnees that we are talking about are those who are in various detention centers who had been exposed to inhumane treatment, were incarcerated, have been exploited, have undergone a lot of abuses. I'm sure you would have had the opportunity to speak to some of them.
Yes, we did.
So then, together with our partners, we visited these centers, and then, of course, we had to really verify that they were Ghanaians. Once we were certified that they were Ghanaians, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued them with travel documents to return. So this time, they didn't even go through the routes that they used earlier. That is going across the desert, and some even tried crossing the Mediterranean, but because they were not successful, they were brought back. This time, IOM organized a chartered flight for them, so it's in a humane manner, in a dignified manner, to return back. When they came, we didn't give out these funds as additional money that go to your communities of origin, and that's it. These were onward travel allowance support. Ideally, if we had a migrant reception center, I'm not talking about prison or detention centers. If we had well-structured migrant holding centers, that is where they should have been. We took all their details, their contact, how we could contact them, to ensure that we could follow up, to give them those who really in need of psychosocial counseling support. We are going to follow up to ensure that we give them this support. Aside that, we had our colleagues from the Migration Health Assessment Center who already identified some of the returnees with some medical conditions. We'll be following up to ensure that all these are well taken care of. Now,
so if they have medical conditions and you leave them to integrate into the society, no health screening, is that what it is?
Of course, before they departed, there was another health screening done in Libya to ensure that, one, they didn't pose any risk upon arrival. They were fit to travel because they came with other escorts. So these were the conditions. And this is why I indicated that we work directly with other counterparts. IOM as an intergovernmental organization can never function and achieve its results or desired results by operating in silos. But we partnered other institutions. And in this case, we partnered with the Ghana Immigration Service. I think the Port Health weren't there, but they were built to have been there. The NADMO, National Disaster Management Organization, Ghana Immigration Service were there, as well as other key stakeholders. So then, it's not that we just left them. They had to really clear them to ensure that, yes, they were not going to pose any health risk to the Ghanaian citizenry. And so it was when they were certified that they were even allowed to board in the first place. And when they came, we took them through this health screening to ensure they were fit. Okay. Now, you were asking of the reintegrate, that we only dished out. It's 440 Ghana cedis.
So there's a 40.
Exactly. This, as I did indicate, was just for onward travel assistance to their final destinations. A lot of them, we realized, of course, based on information we received prior departure, we realized that they weren't from Accra. So then we had to put in place structures and preparations that can help them to get to their final destination. Now that they are in Ghana, at least, because some of them really made it clear that even if we were to give them some overnight support for them to be accommodated, they wanted to live there and then because of what they had been exposed to, what they have, the inhumane treatment they have undergone. So then they were really, really on us that they wanted to get to their final destination. Then we can call them. So it's a follow-up. Now, what I have indicated is that we are looking at long-term sustainable return.
Okay.
And provision of reintegration support has proven that once you are able to handle effectively what may push the person away, at least you will be making headway in ensuring that their return is sustainable, not in the short term, but in the long term.
Let me jump on that statement that you made, like still the push, the main reason as to why young Ghanaians or whoever would want to leave the country. I want to put this question to Dr. Teye from the Center for Migration Studies. As an expert on migration studies, I mean, Ghana, as we know, is a middle-income country from 2011, if I'm not wrong. It's a relatively stable country. There is no conflict. So as an expert on migration studies, what are the reasons that would make a young person want to leave? And I love Ghana. I mean, I've been here for a few days, and I've loved the country. But what would drive a young person to leave this country to go in search of whatever dream out there?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. I first of all want to greet our listeners and the viewers. I think I want to broaden the scope of the discussion. First, that what we are talking about is irregular migration. Movement through Libya is just one of the many routes that they pass, and it's only just one of the types of irregular migration. We will talk about people who can also enter regularly, but then they overstay their visas. They also become irregular migrants at a point, and some of them go through the same problems that we are talking about. Then the ones we are talking about are people who have also entered regularly, maybe as students or as something else, and then they work in breach of their contracts for entering. Then we have those that also enter clandestinely, and we are talking about only Libya. For the benefit of our listeners, we have several places that such people go to. And I'm sure if you are talking about policy measures, it's important to understand that others enter through several routes. Even we have people going to the US. In Europe alone, too, we have people going through Senegal, Mauritania, and then going through Morocco, and then they are also going to Spain. So there are several types of these irregular migrants. We also know of those that are going to the Gulf states. So I think let us also expand our discussion to cover them. Now coming to your question. So we have root causes. And the first one they are all talking about is poverty, which I agree with them. So when people are poor, they want to look for better things elsewhere. But poverty alone is not the problem, and that must be understood. The statistics so far show that most of the people that cross through the desert, some of them are not the poorest of the society. If you look at the money they pay to connection men alone, you have a better understanding. And that is what shows that the situation is complex. People are paying $5,000, 5,000 euros to connection men to cross. So the major factor we have to look at as a country is misconception about life out there. In some of our studies that we did about 3 years ago in the Brongahafo region, very interesting. People that attempted to cross about 6 times, they were brought back to Ghana, and they are willing to go again. They described the situation they went through. Some said they saw their friends dying. Some said they drank their own urine, but they want to go again. Why? Because there are a lot of factors. First, it's not only the poverty per se, but how is the society looking at returned migrants? And you remember a lot of people went in the 1980s. Some of them were successful because in those days, European countries and other destinations were not having the economic problems they have now. So some were allowed to enter. So these people are seeing those who return successfully, and they also want to become like them. In our study in Brongahafo region, some mentioned that, for instance, it even helps improve your status for getting a beautiful woman to marry. So maybe you are a farmer, you are doing something that is not so bad, but others have gone, they have come back, they are seen as enlightened, and everybody wants to be like them. So it's not only the poverty, it's the culture, and that is why most of the people come from specific regions or parts of Ghana. The misconception is because they have overcalculated the benefits. One person told us he sold a taxi, for instance, which he was owing, and he wanted to use it to travel. And he wanted money from the anchor. And he was thinking that if he wanted 3,000 pounds. This study was done in 2014. And he was thinking if he goes there, within 1 month, upon reaching there, he will pay the anchor. So he was thinking, for instance, he can make 3,000 pounds in savings within just a month. So that is the misconception we are talking about. We also have to look at policies, the policies of European countries. We believe as migration experts that to manage migration means you should have regular channels of migrating. So somebody out there, if we have bilateral agreements, we have guest worker schemes that are operating into some of these countries, then it will not stop, as Wilmot has said, but it will reduce it when people know that, well, I can apply for some visa, get some guest worker visa to work for some 1 year. We call this regular channels. And that is what the new migration compact that is being developed. That is what people from the developing countries, we are pushing for. That developed nations will also have to open more ways for regular channels of migration. When that is done, because the person wants to go through the desert because he knows if he applies for the visa, nobody will give him the visa. Most of they are asking for